Well, we are learning more tonight about the sudden termination of an assistant Corpus Christi city manager. Sylvia Carrillo-Treviño was fired earlier this week after 2 years in that position.
Yeah, interim city manager Keith Selman is the one who did that. He and Carrillo-Treviño are reportedly candidates for the permanent city manager job. Our Bill Churchwell sat down with Carrillo-Treviño today to get the latest on this top story. Bill?
And Carrillo-Treviño said she was handed a termination letter on Monday and was told to immediately clean out her desk.
We had discussions on many other items. This was not one of the items we'd ever had a discussion on.
Showing me the termination letter she received. In it, the interim city manager writes, quote, "I have lost confidence in your ability to perform the critical duties as required." Carrillo-Treviño said there was no wrongdoing on her part and released a letter of her own to the public discussing her accomplishments as assistant city manager over the last 2 years. She calls the firing a fundamental difference of leadership style. Currently, the city is searching for a permanent city manager using a consultant to narrow down the list to 11 candidates. Carrillo-Treviño said she is one of them and finds it quite interesting, to say the least, that she was let go.
I've made significant strides in the city, and as the interim city manager, that's his choice. That's his decision to be able to staff his executive team the way he so chooses. I am still a candidate for the city manager position, and I hope to still stay in the running after all of the dust settles.
Now, she previously served 10 years with the city of Corpus Christi in development services. She also spent time in Aransas Pass as their city manager before coming back to Corpus Christi. We reached out to the city for a comment, but due to protocol, they are unable to discuss personnel issues. When asked for a list of candidates, the city says that they do not know the names on that list because it's being handled by the consultant. I also reached out to a few members of City Council who told me tonight all they know is that she was no longer employed with the city and didn't know much more than that. Mackenzie, back to you.
Okay, thank you, Bill.